Hi, everybody. Um, well, the purpose of this video is to share with you the relation in between Pisces Cetus and the human hologram, and also in relation to Ophiuchus. So, if you hadn't heard about this, well, of course, Pisces, it's most likely that you have heard about Pisces. However, when we are talking about Pisces and about Cetus and Ophiuchus, um, it's less common that you can have heard about them unless you are truly into astrology. Then you surely probably have heard about Ophiuchus as the 13th zodiac sign. And newly, Cetus has come into the field, becoming more and more famous, to say it somehow. And Cetus represents the big fish or the whale. So, if you know about astrology, if you're in resonance with the role, with the influence that stars, that constellations have in the human behavior, how does that happen? Well, in this video, I will be sharing with you how that happens from the holofractographic field. By this meaning, when we're connecting with the quantum physics, with the quantum field, quantum mechanics, and how does this reality, this kind of reality, reflects in this 3D. So imagine my body. Imagine that my body is a hologram. You're not looking at my flesh. You're not looking at my skin, my eyes, my hair. You're just looking patterns, geometries, also behind me. You don't look the paintings, the drawings, or the photos, or even the couch. You're just looking at patterns, at geometries. Well, when we connect with this layer, with this scale of reality, then we are connecting with the how the 3D, the tangible reality is created, because that's where it starts. We know how numbers determine algorithms, and algorithms determine programs. Now, when we're talking about geometry, we're talking about a scale earlier, to say it somehow, because that word is kind of relative. That when we are talking about a higher scale of evolution, then we are connecting with the geometry. As the space-time geometry, also known as sacred geometry. So when we connect with the body as a hologram, then we know that each part of the hologram generates a geometry. And I was talking about this in a previous video, talking about the astral source code precisely. So if you want to listen more about this, the holographic, the holofractographic body, or the geometrical body, then you can look at a previous video in my channel, my YouTube channel. So when we're talking about the geometrical body, it's the fusion in the information within the gravitational field and the electromagnetic field. So when you merge the information within these two, the patterns, the motion, the pulsation, everything that is happening in between these two, then what you get is geometry. And this geometry translates into the unicity, your unicity, what represents, what manifests your unicity within your unity. So Then, when this geometrical body is vibrating constantly, all the time, it is emitting specific pulses. And these pulses generate patterns, as I was saying. One way to go to this with these patterns is as programs of behavior. The other way to go through these pulses is um, as frequencies that are directly connecting with these constellations. And these constellations are embedded in a specific order, in a specific parts of your geometrical body. Now, where does Pisces, Cetus, and Ophiuchus come into place with this topic? It has been told that Pisces is the last zodiac sign, whereas it's the first. And this is scientifically proved, astronomically proved. Why? Because Pisces is orbiting throughout the month of March in the equinox, not Aries. So this shifts a little bit of everything, because then the last ones are the first ones, and the first ones are the last ones. And everything is encoded. So if we consider that Pisces is the shape, is that it's related to two fishes going in opposite sides that are continually separating one from each other instead of coming together, then it's obvious, because if the order is not accurate, then the fact that it has been set in the last part, in the end, instead of the beginning, then the cycle is not fulfilling. That's one thing. The other thing is, when we see how other codes, how the leaders that were connecting primarily to the Pisces era, and which is actually current, still in transit, then they have the hairdress of the fish, and even also in ancient depictions of the Apkallu in the Sumerians, we have the tail of the fish. So we have the beginning and we have the end, the subtle and the dense, the terrenal. So that's one thing. The other thing that relates to Cetus is that Cetus, being the big fish or the whale, and we know these are just names being given. However, there is a specific code to these names. And we have the Greek names, we have the Egyptian names, we have the Sumerian names, we have different shapes, we have even the Ptolemaic connection to the constellations. And each one of them lead to a specific code that will allow and that enables for us to remember what the true story is. And by true, I mean the true of the heart that manifests because you're aligned, you're in place, you're in your space, you're occupying your space. Ergo, you're in resonance with the universe. So imagine that your hologram is a wheel, And the order that this wheel is manifesting, the way it is spinning, is lacks synchrony with other wheels due to the lack of order, the distortion in the order that it is representing one. And the other thing is that it's not about 12 zodiac signs, it's about 13 plus 1, 14 Cetus. So 12, 13, and 14, because it's also very important for us to it's very important for us to acknowledge that throughout the throughout history, the human history, there has been very important things that actually have blossomed and that were what we needed throughout evolution. In this case, the number 12. It was needed because actually it means the particle of light, static, the one that activates the instinct pulse, the pulse of survival, the survival instinct. Because for the unconsciousness, static means death. Motion means life. So that's why the crucifixion is a cross, a static cross, a dead cross. And here is where Ophiuchus comes, because Ophiuchus represents the motion of the vital force of the serpent, bringing ourselves through this rebirth. And this is also connected to the 13 joints that the ancient Mayans would recognize. And the 14 is the space in between those joints. And actually, the 14 is also embedded in the original and in other forms of the Mayan calendar or Mayan long count, because we know that some variations have been done to the long count. And it does, regarding to this 14 topic, it's embedded in both. And actually, we will see the 14, the number 14, because we know you might say, well, and what's the relation with 14, 13, 12? What does it matter? Well, remember the geometrical body that I was talking about and the numerical field that that comes into the geometrical body? Well, those numbers are giving a specific pulses that are also connected to the stars, as I was saying, or to the moon, or to the sun. How? Cycling. How? Spiraling, which are the fundamental constants of the universe, the vacuum. So time was set through cycling, and the cycles is a way to relate to time, and it's also a way to relate to numbers, because you count the number of cycles. And so, bottom line, when we talk about 1260, 1260 is the code, the encoded algorithm connected to linear time, as I was saying, static. And without recognizing the motion, the movement in life. So that's one stage. The other stage is the 13, which is the unity, which is the motion, which is life, and which is the vital force, the wisdom remembering how to use our vital force. That's why there are so many distortion and hidden links to the truth, to the serpent, because in the end, the serpent, it is what it mostly represented, the vital force. Kundalini, and the serpent of the wise ones, um, solar serpent. And then what's the connection in between Ophiuchus and the serpent, of course, the serpent bearer, and Cetus? Well, when we look at fossils in, for instance, Egypt, in Wadi el-Jitan, we have the fossils of the first forms of whales, as how they have named it. Basilosaurus isis, or Basilosaurus isis. So, and you see the fossil, and it is a dragon. It has four legs. It has this huge mouth, this huge tail, of course. You won't see the tail, you won't see everything, all bones. However, you visualize that set of beautiful bones covered and dressed in flesh. And then you will have a dragon. So, and then the suffix is Isis. So, and then again, encoded reality. So when we connect and recognize that Cetus has been present in other cultures, not as a whale, as twins, also embedded in the Popol Vuh, which is the primordial Mayan book, the book of creation. And then you have also zodiac signs related to dragons. And because, for instance, when you're talking about Quetzalcoatl, feathered serpent, this is one way that it's considered. There are other sources that consider that Coatl is far distant from a snake. They say it represents the union. However, everything is united. Everything is connected. So, but however, when we're talking of a feathered serpent, a serpent with feathers, we also see this in the ancient Egyptian glyphs, hieroglyphs, and we see it with the Aten, with the solar disk, so-called solar disk, which is an orb, a solar orb, a generator, an energetic energy generator for the arcs. So going back, or connecting again in a very specific way with Cetus, Ophiuchus, and the human hologram, and Pisces, of course. The transit of Cetus is in March as well as Pisces is. Yet, there is a very important fact to it. We have Pisces from the 11th of March to the 26th. Cetus connecting, aligned to the sun throughout the 27th and 28th of March. And then again, from the 29th all the way to the early days of April, we have Pisces again. This is how the spiral time, or the time is spiraling, is proved. Because we are not saying that something that has happened, boom, washed away. No, we're saying that it's in the beginning, then another thing happens, and then it concludes with the very same thing in the beginning. So we're fulfilling the cycle, and that's what Pisces is. Because a linear Pisces, a linear encoding of Pisces, is the result of dualism as a good-evil conception of life. because you're going one way or you're going to another way. But these ways never reach each other or re-encounter each other. That's a linear reality. However, when we are spiraling, these forces are coming back together at some point. And that's what acknowledging the whole dimension of the information is. Really? Can acknowledging this will transform my life? Well, I ask you, has your life changed ever since you acknowledged that you're a multidimensional being? Is it the same? Maybe tangibly, it hasn't shifted that much. However, the way of perception, your form of perception of life has expanded, and so your creation, your forms of creation. So this is how it happens, because when sometimes when we are, or someone can be expecting like this boom, like this meteorite of this evolutive meteorite boom, smashing into your life and generating and transforming everything all of a sudden. That happens. Maybe not the meteorite, but events that will shift your life. Nevertheless, there is a constant that in order to generate a balance, not all your evolution can be that way. Otherwise, it will be really intense all the time. And it's like the music. If you're listening to a song that is intense all the time, at some point you will say, oh, okay, that's enough. If it has silences and then it has peaks, and then even though it can be boom, 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 it allows you to connect and not run away from it. So about connection, acknowledging these two signs that are actually even connected. They are connected, Ophiuchus and Cetus and Pisces. They're connected to the cube. We can see it in the Dendera Zodiac, or Dendera space-time table, as I call it. And because those are quantum machinery. They are not throwing information about 8 million of years ago. They are throwing the information about what is happening at this moment. So in relation to last blue moon in Pisces, I was mentioning that the torsion has been achieved about the two fishes coming together because a huge labor has been done in order to reunite the conscious, or the connection in a state of awareness in between Cetus and its role in as the space, as the silence that is molding the matter, that is molding the hologram. We could also see it as that electron that is orbiting. And let's say that the protons are, we could even say neutron and proton, but you're getting the point of it. The center, what's happening, the particle of light, that's the 12 and the 13. And the 14 is Cetus orbiting. And then Ophiuchus and Cetus at some point connect. And I will be talking about this in another video where I will be showing the Dendera space-time table, or the Dendera Zodiac. And if you're interested in knowing more about this, you can join the groups in Telegram where where I'm sharing this information and more, because I have designed a cyclic a cyclic time system of torsion and restoration of the human hologram, the original human hologram through the space-time continuum. And I know this might sound a little bit complex. However, it's just about patterns, codes, algorithms. That's it. Because when we get to understand how reality functions, then we know it's not about merging, or we have experienced a lot of transits and steps in order to become aware more and more of who we really are, to remember, because we have been bringing our members together at every step. So now, what about occupying our space, one's space? And that's how harmony goes. And what does occupying my space represents? It means living in truth, the truth within you, the truth from the heart. And that happens when the information is aligned, because then it's clear. And how it's going to be aligned and how it's going to be clear when we step by step remove, or have removed already, those things that were putting a veil in your eyes. And when you listen to something and it resonates in your heart, and you know it's your truth, even though it's spoken by someone else, you're resonating with that truth, where you're resonating with that heart. And then when you start to resonate more harmonically, because you are living within your truth, within your heart, then you occupy your space, because you know that you're in the right place with the right beings and doing what is coherent with you, with your mission, with your purpose of evolving in love, if that's what you choose. So having said this, thank you for watching this video. And as I mentioned, I will be sharing more about this. If you want to join the Telegram group, I will leave the description in this video. So, HUNUH.